I'm going to go through a real example today so you can determine for you when it makes sense to collect Social Security if your spouse has passed. Emotionally, I cannot even imagine what you're going through, and now you have to sort through the finances, and you want to make sure that you're set up for the rest of your life. I'm going to walk through a real case study in great detail, and I also have a flow chart that should hopefully help you. I'm going to show that to you right now. So if you look at my screen here, you can see this is a chart that you can actually go through. It says start here in the upper left, and you can start to play out these different scenarios. We can go into detail about, did you remarry? Do you have a child? How much are you eligible for based off how long that marriage lasted? So tons of detail in here. This is available all in my academy, which is in the description of this video. But if you would like, you can literally just take a screenshot right now. I'm not trying to gatekeep this in any way, but if you want to go into great detail with this, I certainly recommend checking out the academy. I'm going to now show you, because I don't want to run hundreds and hundreds of scenarios and bore you to death. I'm going to keep it really simple, and hopefully this use case tells you everything you need to know. Now, obviously, it's not going to be able to do everything. I'm going to hopefully show you this simulation so you can see, wow, that's pretty close to my situation. Yeah, I think I'm going to consider this or that. Obviously, you need to make sure you're being careful here because this could literally change how much income you take for the rest of your life. So make sure to work with a certified financial professional, a CFP, that's what I am, or some financial professional, whether it be a CPA or attorney, someone who's giving you financial guidance who is qualified to do so. Now, with that being said, we're going to start to hop in. I am a CFP. My name is Ari. I am the host of the Early Retirement Podcast, and I'm the Chief Growth Officer here at Root. Now, talking about Social Security and survivor benefits, this is something that is very real. It's something that is not always fun to talk about, but crucial. So let's talk about it now. So Sue is 60 years old. She wants to retire early. Sue and her husband had tons of plans for traveling, and unfortunately, he passed away due to a medical condition. So now Sue is on her own. She has a total net worth of $1.7 million. $52,000 is in her bank account, just sitting in a savings account. 1.2 is in a 401k. She has a $550,000 home with a $122,000 mortgage. Now, when we're looking at this, there's so much detail to potentially go into. We're talking Social Security today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to show you Sue's options. So when it comes to survivor benefits, the easiest way of looking at it is understanding when you should optimize for your situation is based off of timing. So if we knew exactly how long you would live, it would be really easy to determine financially when you should collect Social Security. But the reason there's so many articles and videos is nobody knows. So all we can do is really take our best guess, but there is a financial way of looking at it. So if Sue, for example, had a husband who had passed away at, let's say, age 70, meaning there was a 10-year age gap, that would vastly change the recommendation. In this case, Sue's husband was the same age. So Sue's husband, let's just call him John. John was 60 years old. So John just passed away at 60. Now, Sue is not able to immediately begin collecting what John would have been able to collect at age 70. That's a common misconception. Sue has three options, and I'm going to show you them on my screen right now. So let's just pretend that John's age 70 benefit would be $3,500 a month, meaning if John lived until age 70, meaning you can collect at 62, that's when John is eligible to begin collecting at 62, which is why this says 8 years of delayed credits. That's what he would have received if he continued to live. At age 70, he would get $3,500 a month. So Sue, you can see here, has a few options. John has what's called FRA, full retirement age benefit. Let me make that larger, of $2,500 a month. $2,500 a month. And Sue has three options, really. There's a few more, but just keeping it simple. Number one is Sue could decide, wow, so my husband just passed away. I need income right away. I could take $1,788 a month today at age 60. Many people think 62. Nope, you can collect at 60. 71.5% of $2,500. So that's of John's full retirement age benefit. A reminder, Sue did not work. So Sue could choose, pretend she worked, she could choose to collect her own benefit and continue collecting that and then switch to a survivor benefit later, but she did not work. So that's not on the table for her. She could decide to wait until either 66 to 67 or somewhere in between, which was John's full retirement age benefit. So she could say, no, I don't want $1,788 a month. I'd rather wait. I'm going to wait till, let's call it 67, and then I'll collect $2,500 a month. Here's the mistake. People will think 70. Isn't it the latest time to collect? Let me do that. But you can see if she waited till 70, it's still $2,500 a month. Waiting past the survivor full retirement age does not increase it further. So there's literally no financial benefit for Sue continuing to wait. And I've seen situations where someone passes away and they go, I'm going to wait until 70 because that's when I get the max benefit. But it totally depends on the timing, as you can see here. So because of when John passed away, that changes things. If John had passed away at 70, and let's pretend $3,500 a month was the benefit, then Sue could wait until 70 and collect the full $3,500. But because he wasn't already collecting that, that's not on the table. So those are three simple things to consider just in terms of how does the math work for Sue in this example. Now, when it comes to actually getting Social Security information, make sure to go to ssa.gov and you can learn way more about that. Now, what I'm going to show you now is a simulation. So this is Sue and her financial plan. Her immediate goals with her husband, so she was planning to work until 65. Her and her husband. So she at that time was not working, but she was considering part-time work. They wanted to do big travel. They wanted to help a friend with a wedding, and they had car goals, and monthly expenses were $14,000 a month. They were like, we're going to spend big and enjoy it. And that was their goal. Is John, just using a sample name here. John was planning to continue working. They didn't really know what retirement had in store for them, but they wanted to make sure they could spend enough. Well, now things have changed. Sue no longer has John. So Sue's like, look, if I have $5,000 a month, I'm not going to be traveling to the same degree. And, I'm not bringing in income myself at this point. So that's kind of irrelevant. But she was considering at one point getting some part-time work, and she found a job. So she was looking into that. But all of these different goals here, these need to be reevaluated. If you just lost your partner, she might go, I want to relocate. I don't need the same home I'm in. I want a smaller property. She might go the opposite route and go, emotionally, I could not exist not having my same home because this is where I have the core memories of John. Just an example here. But looking at vacations or cars or education or retirement planning or healthcare, long-term care, it all needs to be reevaluated. What we can see under this retirement tab here, and once again, you have the ability to use this same software here, is when we look at Social Security, you want to look at, okay, what's going to put the most money in my pocket over time? Well, we don't know how long you're going to live, so it's hard to tell. But collecting as early as possible versus full retirement age versus age 70, this is a very detailed software that you can use in great detail. I know I just said that twice, but you can see there are a lot of powerful tools in here. I'm not going to stress test all of them, but the big thing is you want to make sure you're okay. That's the number one thing. And so a lot of the goals had changed. They were planning and they were talking about healthcare, and they were talking about how much they want to spend. And at first it was $14,000 a month. Then it was $5,000 a month. Then it was, okay, how do we want to invest? Because her husband used to do the investing. Social Security, what's the strategy? All of these things can be manipulated as you see fit. What kind of portfolio do you want? And they all have significant impacts on the bottom line in the plan. Let's just pretend I'm going to go assume that Sue finds, let me think about it for a second. Let's pretend that healthcare is needed until Medicare kicks in at 65. But let's assume that Sue decides, she's like, you know what? I want to spend $3,500 a month, nearly $40,000 a year in retirement. And let's pretend she does not want to invest in a moderate portfolio, just more preservation. That's her primary goal. If that's her goal, you can see she has about 1.2 million. The money will continue to rise. Why is it rising? Well, the reason it's rising is we're spending way less than we initially were. And then it's fairly stable here. There's about 2.5 million at the end. Maybe that's not her goal. Maybe her goal is I'd rather spend $6,000 a month and not be invested in a way with volatility because I'd sleep better. Yeah, the graph is now sloping slightly more downwards, but there's still $1.4 million at the end. So the reason I'm bringing this up is There's so many different things that you can look at that will actually give you way more confidence with your plan. I am a big fan of stress testing. So an example is Sue wants to make sure she has income for the rest of her life, and she's trying to determine when's the best time to collect Social Security. Well, what if Social Security gets reduced because legislation changes by, let's say, 20%? What if inflation goes up by 1.5%? Or returns don't come in at the rate she expects? Or maybe Sue lives really long, or maybe healthcare goes up. You can manipulate all of these different things to see, okay, what's your probability of success? How likely is it that I will run out of money? And all of these things, I find, actually increase your confidence because you see, where am I in relation to where I want to be in real time? So regarding Social Security and their survivor benefits, there's a ton to it. We do specialize in Social Security planning. So if you want to make sure you're collecting the right time, there's nothing you're overlooking, and you want that connected to your investment strategy and your insurance strategy and your tax strategy and your estate plan, this is what we specialize in. And we love getting to do this. So you can go to our website, rootfinancial.com. There's a button in the upper right, see if you're a fit. If you click on that, you'll be prompted to answer a few questions. And from there, we will be having a conversation to see if we're a potential fit. So hopefully this video was helpful. I'm so sorry if you did lose your partner. I can only imagine what you went through with that. I do have this video here. If you look up Ari Taublieb widow, I have a video where I brought on a widow who actually helps guide people more on the emotional side of, okay, how do I actually go through this? And this is something that didn't get, like some of my videos, tens of hundreds of thousands of views, but it's one of the most important videos I've ever recorded. It is a 25-minute clip with a certified grief coach. So all the content I do is for you guys to hopefully resonate and go, wow, this feels different. This seems like something that I'm can take value from. So all the YouTube videos I do are for free. Hopefully you enjoy. My only request is if you did, please like this and leave a comment below of what was helpful. So make sure to check out this clip later, and I'll see you guys next time.